and probably the most important point is that testing doesn't develop fitness. If you are testing more often than you're training, that acceleration, that upward climb is going to be a lot shallower. It's not going to send you to the top nearly as quickly.
I was just going to say it again for the people in the back.
Yeah.
Testing does not develop fitness.
Absolutely.
It benchmarks it. It doesn't develop it.
Yes. What is going on, everyone? Hunter and Sherb for the Misfit podcast here. And we got a special edition. We've got the Misfit Coaches podcast today. And our training topic, or our
training topic.
Talking topic. Coaches talking topic is going to be on training versus testing. And this is a super important topic. And we're going to talk kind of on both sides of the coin here. And what I mean by that is Misfit Athletics, because right now you guys are listening to this. We have just kicked off mock games week for our Misfit Athletics individual followers. So our masters, teens, hatchet athletes, and MFT athletes. Caroline's probably out in the gym right now, just hazing herself with a mock games workout. We're probably joining her because we're in the future. But this applies significantly to both games athletes want to be competitors or kind of athletes on that track, as well as affiliate athletes, right?
100%. I mean, a lot of athletes come to you and their goals might not be the CrossFit games, but they have goals. A lot of them, when they came through the door. So our job as coaches is to facilitate whatever growth they're looking for. So this topic is super important because a lot of athletes think that what you've written on the whiteboard is like the 10 commandments. It's written in stone. And if I do anything but that, I might as well not have come in for the day.
Yep.
And it's our job to explain that, that is the pinnacle of what you're training towards, but it doesn't mean if you don't do that, you're not training appropriately, or that it's not appropriate for you yet. And how do you get there? So this is almost like a roadmap for someone to understand that, like, when you go to class day by day, you're looking for your coach to help personalize these workouts to make you set yourself up to get towards those goals, and just putting your head down and beating against concrete over and over again, trying to do what's on the board, if it's not appropriate, won't get you there. So it's our job as coaches to explain how that happens here. And to me, that's the conversation I have with affiliate athletes who aren't interested in maybe competing at the CrossFit Games.
Sure. And that's easier to have that conversation with the affiliate athlete in the gym. But we've obviously also got thousands of followers around the world who are thinking, trying to figure this out, maybe on their own, or maybe without that direct guidance of a coach who has kind of that competitive coaching experience in our Misfit Athletics followers. So we're in mock games week, and mock games week is a test. And we'll explain kind of the definitions here and the differences, but what do you tell an athlete who's like looking at mock games week every day? Because I'll tell you, like, some of the tests that we wrote,
I don't want to do them.
Yeah, me neither. I was writing the Instagram copy for the daily, the stuff for next week, and I was like, "Fuck, who let us in charge?" But
we were all okay with it.
What do you tell an athlete who's about to tackle mock games week, like when they're deciding maybe MFT or hatchet? Because it is a test. It's meant to, as again we'll define later, see where your fitness is at. What do you tell an athlete?
This is a complicated conversation because it's going to seem like a catch-22. Like, we're going to tell someone to do something a certain way, and then we're going to almost contradict ourselves and tell them to do something else. But when you're picking which track is appropriate for you, especially in mock games week, you should ask yourself, is it reasonable enough for me to do this test? And will I fit the rough guideline of what the duration, the stimulus, the feel, all those things? Can I hit that stimulus?
Yep.
Now, granted, this is a test. So if you're on the cusp, maybe it's close, but you're not 100% positive, this is the time where you can test yourself and say, all right, like, the coaches say this should be long. It should be 18 to 24 minutes. I was 26. I shouldn't come back. No, you were right around right on the border there. You're right in the edge, the cusp of where you should be. And now you know something about yourself. Was it the movements that were too complicated? Was it the weights were too complicated? Is it a volume you're not ready for? All of this information can then guide your training as you move forward. So, if you're an athlete and you look at a test piece and you can go, I can reasonably hit that stimulus, or I'll be very close to it, try it. This is the time that you try it. It's the same way we talk about with Team Misfit gyms and test weeks. We'll tell an affiliate coach, like, if it's reasonable enough for an athlete to do this, coaches, you should let them, because similar to the way the open goes, when you do an open test, you might not do the wall walks and double runners as fast as Carey Pierce, but you can do both of those movements and you can figure out where you are in your fitness journey. That information is what you use then going forward to help cater someone's training more appropriately. So when you're looking at the week, ask yourself, is it reasonable enough for me to hit what the goal here is, the time domain, the feel and all that? And if it is, go for it.
And I think that's one of the last things you said. That's an important point, is that we use the information that we gather during test week, like, hey, it's mock games week, for example, this week, but also throughout the rest of the year, both for our competitive Misfit Athletics followers and our Team Misfit Gyms affiliate program followers. We have that, every 7 weeks, we've got the test and retest. We've got our kind of structured training phases, which still allow for variance in kind of the traditional GPP format, but it's good to have that kind of checkpoint every once in a while. We don't expect the intensity to be quite as high as, say the open, but only having that one time per year for athletes to test themselves. Sometimes they, we want athletes to learn as they go and to see where their capacity has gotten them, rather than maybe just that one time a year in the open.
What's funny too is what you just said. The open presents this like big hairy monster that comes out like once a year during February, and everyone, doesn't know how to get ready for it. They all of a sudden don't think they should warm up anymore. They shouldn't do a thruster if there's thrusters in the workout because somehow they'll get tired. If you can practice that in your gym regularly, like every 7 weeks, you practice the skill of warming up a little bit more and getting yourself a little bit more alert and aroused, ready to, rock and hammer this thing. That's a skill. And you can practice that year round rather than just the 3 to 5 weeks that are the open or quarterfinals. There's the opportunity to practice those things. And we often talk to our competitor athletes that follow MFT, like, as you're gearing up for a semifinal, you're gearing up for an in-person competition, you should simulate what competition is like. You should move your dumbbells forward 6 feet every single transition. You should flip your box over if you're doing X amount of box jump overs, because that is a practice skill that athletes a lot of times aren't comfortable with. And those tests are meant to make you uncomfortable. So if you practice them more regularly, that discomfort that comes from the unknown and the unknowable, or like, how's this going to go versus just any other Wednesday in the gym, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So this is the time where you can ask an athlete to set up their phone, find a judge, have someone give them a no rep in the middle of the workout to practice how they respond to adversity in the middle of a workout.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's get into this. So again, the topic here, and this is really for both our affiliates and individual. It's kind of part of the like athlete IQ series, as I like to think about it. So training versus testing. And we're actually going to start with testing, because I think kind of almost like the way that you write a workout, for the fittest at your gym, kind of the RX, and then you scale down from there. We need to have that kind of upper echelon understanding of what a test is meant to do, so that we can then kind of dissect what training is meant to do. So testing, we kind of defined it a little bit before, but what we're looking to do is evaluate our current capacity, whether it's a specific modality, a specific time domain, or in that example, maybe an energy system. Maybe there's a movement that is specifically like kind of like, wow, that's the sticking point. That's where everybody's going to spread out a little bit. Maybe it's a heavy barbell that, is smack right in the middle of a workout, or it's, a barbell at the end of a Metcon, like we've seen in 21.3 and 4. But in general, what we're looking to do is evaluate where we're at currently, right?
To me, when I think of the tests, I'm asking an athlete, like, is it reasonable enough for you to do this? And if it is, go do it and let's see how you respond to it. Did you figure out, was it a breathing problem? Did you find out that your gas tank wasn't there? Or did you find out that you really struggled transitioning consistently the entire time? There's a bunch of information gathering that occurs when you test. But it's not necessarily about moving the needle fitness wise, which is, I think, one of the most important parts about talking about testing is that it's not really there to develop your fitness. That is what training is for. A test benchmarks where you currently are and gives you the data to help set yourself up on a path or a trajectory that allows you to come back to that same test or a similar test and say, the last time there were 8 legless rope climbs in a workout, even if the movements are different, it felt this way. I've trained my legless rope climbs and I did 8 more in this workout and it felt very different.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you've moved the needle on your fitness, but you did that through training, not through testing.
Yeah, it's easy. And the easy example is, we always have that open workout, and for a long time, the high skill gymnastics or those heavy barbells were kind of placed toward the end of the workout, which I think is terrific because it, there's an element of participation. Like you want everybody to play up to a certain point. But there are instances where, hey, workout starts with 7 ring muscle ups in that open workout. And that's an example where it's like, well, are we going to, it's a 20-minute time cap. Are we going to just tell athletes who don't have any shot of getting over the rings that like, yep, you're going to swing around for 20 minutes. Yeah. Like we obviously need to use our coaching brains there, but in general, yeah, you're right. That it is not meant to it is meant to evaluate fitness. It is not meant to get you fitter necessarily, because if we stuck a workout in class or on the blog where every single day it was just like, this is a hard sticking point that you either can or cannot do, that doesn't provide a good training stimulus. That is a test.
So one thing I thought you've done really nicely at the gym, Misfit Gym Portland recently, is you started giving a little bit of a lecture series on helping people understand the stimulus and the pacing, right? How to understand how to attack a workout so that their training is more effective. If you come to your affiliate and you just do exactly what's on the board every single time you come in, you are only testing. You are never training, right? Unless every once in a while the movements kind of cater to your fitness and you can actually hammer those and get a good stimulus from them. But if you just blindly go into a workout and just do it exactly like it's written without any thought to how it should go, how it should feel, where you should end up, that again is a test. And when you go to the blog daily, you shouldn't be testing yourself with every single workout you should do. You should find things to potentially challenge yourself against in the middle of a workout. But again, if you do every workout exactly like it's written and you never think about how it's supposed to go, unfortunately, you're testing, you are not training.
Right. And with testing, that's a good delineation, because that's an important distinction. When you are testing, we're not as concerned about how long this is going to take you, within reason, of course. Yeah. Nor are we maybe concerned about the stimulus, because let's take 21.3, for example. It was the front squat, pull or toes to bar, then thruster, then front squat, chest to bar thruster, front squat bar muscle up thruster.
So good of you to remind. I remember all that.
Sorry,
I forgot.
But the gymnastics got more and more advanced as we went, right? So that is an instance where, like, for some athletes, that was a cardio stimulus. Like the pinnacle athletes, that was a cardio stimulus. For a lot of us, it was whether it was either the gas tank that ran out or our muscles just stopped working. Like, hey, I can't do any more bar muscle ups. I have to rest 30 seconds before I can even get up, or I'm just going to waste my time. In a test, we're not as concerned about that, because we are just seeing where you are at, understanding that it's going to be different for everybody.
Of course. And we want that, because that helps us tailor individuals. Because again, everyone that comes to your gym, whether you're a high level competitor or you're taking an affiliate class, you come there with an aim, you come there with a desire, something you're trying to do with your fitness. Right. And if we can set you up knowing what your goals are and that you can modify the stimuli to meet the stimulus of the workout, and you create enough variance, you're going to make some very fit, very formidable human beings. And that can go, even if you aren't going to an affiliate, you're just trying to get, really, really fit. But again, if you get caught in the trap of trying to do what's on the whiteboard, then again, you are not training. You're not training, you're testing.
Right. Again, we don't want those consistent, always going to stop you and dead in your tracks sticking points. Okay. That's a good delineation between training and testing. If you are always finding something that you can't do in your just regular training, that's not a training piece. That's a test.
And it's good to know that information. So it's not like it's a total waste of your time. If you see something 100%. And you're like, you know what? I don't know if I can do 6 pegboards in this workout. Well, you won't know until you try, right?
Sure.
Now, you might get into it 2 or 3 pegboards in and go, all right, I've been standing around for the last 3 minutes. This probably isn't right for me. And you can modify on the fly. So don't think that just because you started a piece and you found somewhere in the middle of it, you couldn't keep going. That's great information. You figured out your limit for pegboards right now is 3. 4 is not there yet. And then you can use that information to tailor, all right, I need to get more strict gymnastics working. I need to do more banded pull-ups, more ring rows. I got to hang out on the pegboard more. But that happens outside of the intensity of that workout. That happens, again, in training, not in testing. But again, it's important to realize that it is okay to figure what these things are out. It just can't make it your everyday.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into kind of like, so how do we use a test? How do we use the results of a test? And especially after either, whether it's mock games week, whether it's the open quarterfinals, semifinals, or just a test week at your gym, or maybe it was a benchmark day in your affiliate class or something like that, that a little bit of self-reflection as to what what got us stuck. And we've talked a lot about things like the stimulus and what pacing instructions we should have. And if you look at that test or you talk to the coach and are just like, hey, what was I supposed to feel in that workout? And it was markedly different from what the coach says to what you felt. That's information, especially when it comes to a test. That's not necessarily failure. That's like
it's a learning moment.
It's a learning moment. Exactly. So what about the test was really difficult? And then what was the intent? What were we trying to test? Because if we were trying to test your gas tank, and it was just like, wow, I really wish, I think the example that I was talking to you about before was the wall ball rowing workout from the Open, 19 and 19. If you felt like, man, my legs were toast, or like, I just couldn't throw that medicine ball anymore, I think I need to get stronger. It's like, well, like, actually, that was a test of your engine. That was just an engine test. So how do you use that information?
I mean, that right there is a classic cardio workout that you would see on our training blog. And if you aren't someone that's very good at that domain, you need to take workouts and look at them and say, all right, it's not a muscular overload problem. I wasn't like all my legs were burning and that's why I stopped, or I wasn't strong enough to throw the ball to the target anymore. It was my desire to keep moving. Mm-hmm. So then when you look on the blog and you have that a la carte menu of pieces to choose from, and you see on the description, it says cardio, guess what you should be doing? Mm-hmm. You should be making that workout feel like a cardio workout. Even if right now, or the way you read it isn't cardio for you, lop a few reps off. Maybe it's 7 bar muscle ups and your capacity is 4. Maybe you do 2 every round, because again, that's going to allow you to stay moving the entire time. But think about it from that perspective. When I have a stimulus and we know what those defined terms are, because we have a great article on our website that talks about how all those should go, really hone in on what that's supposed to be and make it personalized for you. And it's funny to me because a lot of people come to a CrossFit gym early on with a goal in mind. They had heard it's like small group personal training. And then when you try to give them some advice on how to make it personal, they're like, no, it says all that on the board. Yeah. No, it's like, but remember, we were trying to get you fitter, not just do what's always on the whiteboard. You're stuck in this particular domain. You got to 19.1 and you were good for, 12 of the 19 minutes, and then you capped out. Well, shit, that figures out that we have to now develop that time domain from between 12 and 19 so that you can continue to go at that pace the entire time. And you set your training up to do so. Yeah.
And that's where having a knowledgeable coach, whether it's a knowledgeable coach ideally on the program, if you're following Misfit Athletics, you're hopefully looking to us, and this is why we're having this conversation, so you can understand that. If you're at the affiliate level, you should be able to ask your coach. And coaches, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit too. You better be able to answer that question. You better have an idea of how to, hey, what was this training piece intended to do? And if you're not sure, like, you got to reevaluate, because athletes deserve that. And like you said, at the end of the day, like, yes, we provide small group training, thinking about at the affiliate level, but modifying and scaling is the bridge between class and personal training. I don't want to pay for personal training, and I also like working out with all these other people, but I want to personalize this a little bit to get my fitness level. That is where the coach comes into the modifying and scaling kind of realm to help you achieve the stimulus and kind of get after it.
And the funny thing, that's why we have the Hatchet program, is to help bridge the gap between affiliate class, where you can go in and kind of smash everybody at your local gym and you can beat them at most of the workouts and you're getting a good time. And you're like, I like this competitive stuff. I'm going to give it a try. And then you go to the MFT and you're like 5 minutes behind everybody, or like 6 rounds less than everybody. How do I get there? Going back and using the Hatchet program, or understanding that you can modify the training pieces to fix the gaps in your game, is how you then make that leap from affiliate athlete to Hatchet athlete, from the Hatchet athlete to MFT athlete. Modifying things, and again, it's not a dirty word. And a lot of people are like, I'm really upset about the fact that they're not doing the same workout. A great example is you and I and Caroline all did a devil's press, push press, step over workout. It was supposed to be like, hang on to the dumbbells as long as you can. Now I have a terrible front rack. If I try to do it with the RX weight, my dumbbells would have rested on the ground and I would have missed the stimulus completely.
I'd still be doing that workout.
Which means, cool, I did it RX, but who cares besides you? And 2, you didn't get any fitter. So like, that's an ego thing, kind of trapping you into want to do that. But again, I would have completely missed the point of the workout had I grabbed the right dumbbells, because one of us arbitrarily decided, all right, the Open said 50. Let's just do 50 again.
You would have been a lot closer to testing than training.
Correct. I would have figured out where I can't keep moving on devil's presses, or how many push presses I can do, which is, again, great information. But that wasn't the goal that day. The goal that day was to hang on and just send it and see what happens. All right, Misfits, a quick little break. Talk about our show sponsors. We are brought to you by Proper Fuel. You can head to properfuel.co to save on your first order using the code MISFIT. Now, what Hunter has been talking about in the episode a couple of times here is we've been jumping into workouts with Caroline. And, Hunter and I, we aren't exactly games athletes. We are a little bit more banged up than usual. And as Hunter, has coined it before, Proper Recovery has the 7 training wonders of the world. I am not going to list them off because I'll probably omit one. But again, it is making sure that my body feels good and that I can hope and pray that the next time that she asks me to work out, I'm ready to do it. So again, you can head to properfuel.co, use the code word MISFIT to save on your first order.
And we're also brought to you on the recovery spectrum, on the recovery pure spectrum CBD.com. Use the code word MISFIT to save on your order. Man, I'm a big fan of the salve. It's kind of like Drew and his recycling. He's got a recycling bag in every room in his house, so he doesn't just have.
That's not enough bags for him.
Have seltzer cans, or maybe it's laundry bags. I think it's laundry bags in every room in his house. Whatever.
He's got a lot of returnables too.
I hope he's listening to this. I got one of those little salves. I got one in my nightstand. I got one on my next to my TV stand, so I can, while I'm watching TV at night, I can apply some of that to some joints that are bothering me. But I'm a big fan of the salve, Pure Spectrum CBD. Head there, use the code word MISFIT to save on your order.
We are also brought to you by Sharpen the Axe. You can head to www.sharpentheaxeco.com. Use the code word Kiala to save 10% on your order and donate 10% of your order to the Kiala Foundation. Awesome people, awesome organization, helping out some great kids in Hawaii. The people have asked for it and asked for it and asked for it, and we finally have a short in the 5-inch inseam. Hunter's favorite. He likes to hang a little quad in the gym day and day. Those are the SSE Float Short, part of that SSE Summer Edition drop. So again, you can check those out on sharpentheaxeco.com. Use the code word Kiala to save 10% and donate 10%.
I'm not a big 5-inch inseam guy, and I wasn't super excited at first, but once I put them on, they're super comfy. They're ideal for running. I was talking to one
that
of
media
our,
pocket is dope in the back. I love that thing.
Pocket in the back. They're super comfortable. Anyway, okay, and finally, we're brought to you by, who would have thunk it, Misfit Athletics and teammisfit.com. If you guys are enjoying all the things that we're talking about, how to apply kind of these concepts of training versus testing, understanding the stimulus, understanding the desired time domains and the pacing instructions, those are all things that we provide on all of our programs to all of our followers. So whether you are an individual, you're a Paige and Alexis person getting ready for that last chance online qualifier to hammer it and are following the MFT program, or you are subscribed to our affiliate stuff on teammisfit.com, we provide that information so that you can, as a coach, have that information to provide your athletes to get the most out of their performance. And if you're an athlete listening to this, that's where you get that information. That's where you have kind of the remote coach for you, where we put on the blog, hey, the stimulus is cardio, the pacing is a sustained pace. Okay, I'm going to put all these things together, what the workout looks like. I'm going to modify it a little bit. I'm going to get the stimulus. And then, the one time a year that it matters, whether it's the open or quarterfinals, that's where you show your work. You're not testing every single day that you're doing this. You're applying that information to your training. So again, misfitathletics.com or teammisfit.com for some free sample programming, or the SugarWOD marketplace. You can try any of our products free for 14 days there. All right, back to the show. So talking again, just kind of to wrap up testing, we're evaluating current capacity. We're not as concerned necessarily with the stimulus. In most cases, we're not as concerned if, the workout takes a little bit longer. Maybe you're an affiliate class. Coaches, you should probably have a time cap in mind to kind of save those stragglers who maybe reached a little bit further than their current capacity allows. And probably the most important point is that testing doesn't develop fitness. If you are testing more often than you're training, that acceleration, that upward climb is going to be a lot shallower. It's not going to send you to the top nearly as quickly. I was just going to
say it again for the people in the back. Yeah. Testing does not develop fitness.
Absolutely.
It benchmarks it. It doesn't develop it.
Yes.
So if you are looking to develop your fitness, you should be training.
We should be training.
Now, training, again, is manipulating your daily workouts to make sure they match the goals of that workout and they improve your fitness. So again, kind of going back to the wall ball 19.1 example, what part of that workout stopped you? And if it wasn't that workout, was it the heavy complex at the end of the, of 21.3 and 21.4? Were you strong enough? Could you power clean and split jerk more weight than you did in your complex? Probably. Why didn't you do it then? You're not efficient. You haven't figured out what the skill of the movement is. So there are so many things you learn from tests that you can now then bring back into training. So, when the blog has, hey, some percentage work, you don't just go to the high end and see what happens. You work deliberately at something saying, all right, this held me back. I couldn't cycle the barbell, or I was really trash at going from the deadlift into the squat clean. Something about the grip or the way I moved. Fix that. Don't worry about getting to the high end of the percentage. Fix the glaring weakness in your game and you'll get more from it. And that's what training is all about.
Absolutely. And I think I'm kind of jumping ahead a hair on the sheet, but I think it's as good a time as any to talk about ego and how beneficial, but also detrimental it can be when not used in the correct way. And you kind of just alluded to it. If you are always testing, then you're either just maybe it's an experience thing. Maybe you don't know. You just haven't been doing it long enough. Maybe your coach isn't providing you with that information that you need. But if your ego is what's telling you, and you know in the back of your head, I should probably use a lighter weight. I should probably try to go faster, but I'm not going to. When that conversation happens in your head, and I know it does, if you're listening to this, it happens because it happens to me, but be honest with yourself. Again,
the thing I say at affiliate classes all the time is just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Yeah. Just because you can thrust or 95 pounds, it calls for 100 and your max set is 10, probably shouldn't use 95 pounds.
Yikes.
You should use a barbell that is more appropriate for you because again, there are times when we're looking at tests, times we're looking to train, and you have to understand what the workout's about. And that goes as the athlete going back to athlete IQ or as the affiliate coach saying, hey, you need to understand what the workout is trying to develop. You have to know what you are after. You need to know how it's going to feel, what the pacing looks like, and how it should go for your athletes or go for yourself when you're doing this. And with that information in mind, you quickly tabulate, all right, it's going to take this long, or I'm going to get this many rounds, or this is how it should feel. And you should aim to make that happen out on the floor when it's actually game time versus going, all right, let's see what happens. And then completely missing the boat. That's a huge thing too. As you develop as an athlete, or as athletes develop, you should have a better understanding of how things are going to feel, how long things are going to take. It doesn't take too long for everybody to remember what Fran feels like, especially the first time you really are able to, hammer it. Maybe your first unbroken RX Fran. It's you remember that feeling. What you as the athlete and then as the coach as well need to be able to communicate is, hey, how long are we looking for this to take? What is the desired stimulus? And what is the attack procedure on this thing? Because those things, when combined, more often than not, if you figure out yes, I know that I can go, I know that I can absolutely send it with this version of the workout, and the stimulus is that pacing instruction is to send it, you're good. But in that one, for example, if it's hey, I need you to send it, and you look at that calorie number on the assault bike, what do you mean you want me to send 50 calories? I can't send 50 calories. Well, then don't. That's not your 50 calories.
That's not your 50 calories. That's for me, that's a great example. I jumped into our beginners class last week and it was 30 cals for time on the assault bike. It was intensity day. We do that to our beginners sometimes.
It's good form.
It is good.
Sam might not agree, but it's good form.
Sam won't agree, but you have to tailor that, and you have to understand okay, yeah, we're after a gas tank stimulus, and therefore we need you to absolutely send it. I can't send 50 or 30 calories. What can I send? Do I need to change it to maybe, hey, I'm going to send it for 20 seconds because I know no matter what, that's when my send kind of runs out. And having that information, having that athlete IQ, and as a coach, being able to communicate that's how you get that, that the scaling and modifying conversation becomes a lot less intimidating as a coach, worrying that the athlete is going to be like, what do you mean? I want to do this RX. It doesn't become about that anymore. It becomes how can we make you better?
Yeah, one of the things I really work with my remote athletes, Sophie's in particular, is we've been talking about building her aerobic engine. She's a very powerful athlete, excellent at moving barbells, but if the workout's more than 10 minutes, she's like, all right, what's the hack? How do I use my fast twitch muscle fibers to make this a little bit easier? So a lot of the conversations that her and I have are centered around understanding what the pace should be like, how it's going to feel, how work to rest ratios dictate certain intensities, and realizing that there isn't like one gear for every workout. Every workout from, I don't know, probably 1 minute on, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 4, 4 to 10, they all feel and are executed differently. The more you can remote coach yourself in this instance, or if you don't have a coach, the more you understand how they're going to go and how they feel, you're building that athlete IQ. You start to tailor these workouts to match the intended stimulus. And then one thing that you didn't say yet, but is an important point, is that that's constantly evolving. Once you start to develop and you figure out like, all right, well, I'm going to try the 40 calories today, see what happens. And you actually hit the target stimulus. Well, then, you have a note for yourself next time. All right, if it's 45 or 50, well, 40 went okay last time. Maybe I'll try this time.
Sure.
Or, they've been wanting me to get 10 rounds and I got 12. Well, good. Maybe I didn't need to scale it as far as I did this time. I need to modify it closer to what the intended piece is, and that you're constantly evaluating where you are based on reflecting in training. That doesn't mean, again, just beat your head against the wall and guess, but you collect that information. You're constantly evolving. You're constantly on this journey of getting better and better. And your workouts should reflect that growth as you go through it.
I think that's actually a really important point, is that we're kind of delineating training and testing as if they're two completely separate things that happen completely separately and are mutually exclusive, but that's not the case. Like as you are training, you are getting fitter. You are pushing that top end capacity a little bit further to the right, hopefully. So there is a time and a place when you see in training, like, it's 25 calorie bike repeats or something like that. It's like, man, I've been working hard on this. I've been able to hammer like 15 to 20. Can I do 25? And odds are, like in that specific example, you're probably still going to get the desired stimulus. You're still going to learn something. And there is a place to kind of challenge yourself. Maybe it is a little bit more of a test for you in that one specific instance, but it's founded on previous information that is valid. It's not like, yeah, today's the day I'm going to hit 95% of my 1 rep max in this workout because that's what's on the board. It's no, I've been training, I've been working hard in this specific thing. Here's a good day for me to maybe reach just a little bit and see where I'm at.
And again, one of my favorite examples to explain to somebody, if they're still not kind of gathering the information, not understanding what you're trying to say to them, a really easy one is say, hey, how much do you want to squat? And they'll give you a number. Maybe it's 315, maybe it's 405, whatever the number is. What would be the most effective way to get to that back squat? Would it be to walk in the gym every day and try? Just put 405 in the bar and see if you can squat it on Monday. And if that doesn't go good, try Tuesday. And if that doesn't go good, try Wednesday, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
No, of course not. You have to figure out what the limiting factor is. Is it your midline? Is it your legs aren't strong enough? Is it your squatting pattern? Is it you haven't built up enough volume where that weight's appropriate for you yet? That information is how you explain to an athlete, like, the most effective way isn't just try what's there on the board over and again, or don't try that goal over and over again. It's creating actionable steps that can create change that aren't putting you in a testing scenario. It's allowing you to train something specifically. So in the squat example, you might be doing some speed squats because you don't stand up very fast. You get stuck in the hole. Or maybe it's some pause work because you're really struggling to get good depth in your squat and you want to be proud of yourself when you get your first 405 back squat. Or maybe you realize your midline's not all that great. So you pick up the yoke and you just do some static holds there to try to build the musculature around your trunk so you can get strong enough. There are so many different ways to approach a very specific goal, like a 405 back squat or to finish top 300 in the open. But you have to realize that it's not just, again, going in and just trying to do that same thing over and over again. It's figuring out what the pieces are to the puzzle that would allow you to put that puzzle together to get the goal you're after.
Yeah. Just throw a percentage out there. What percentage of your time should be spent training versus testing?
It's funny because I saw your things on here in your notes here, and my mind instantly went to like 98% of the time, you should be training.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go 98 and 2. Right? Because more often than not, you should be in the gym working on something very deliberate that's going to get you better. Yes, you need to test, periodically to figure out where you are so you can set up where you're going. But again, if you spend too much time there, you're going to constantly be both frustrated and slowing your growth.
What does that apply to all athletes, in your opinion? That rough percentage.
I would say the more experienced you are, the less often you need to test because you have then developed enough training knowledge about yourself to know that, like, yeah, I know I can't do 30 bar muscle ups in a row, but I know I can do 15, which means if the workout called for 18, I probably could try to get 18. It's not unrealistic. Versus if you're brand new, you're going to train a lot. And what's great about beginners is you get all kinds of these PRs because you've never done these things or how they go. But that starts to build this, like, again, this paints this picture around you of like, all right, I'm good at long workouts. I'm good with a light barbell. I'm good with this many reps of this gymnastics movement. And those things all come together to paint your Mona Lisa of, hey, this is where my fitness is. And now I can say, all right, I got this gap over here. I'm trying to fill in. Let's fill in this spot.
Yeah. For the coach, that's right. What I was kind of hoping would be said is that you've got, so let's go, raw beginner, you're an affiliate coach, not raw beginner coaching, but you've got a athlete who's relatively new, more like inherently a lot of their
everything's
time,
a test.
Everything's a test. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I guess we're about to find out. So yeah, you're right. Everybody, like those newer athletes are going to start off with what seems like a lot of tests because we have no underlying information, or that athlete has no underlying information about their fitness, about the things that they can do, about what they can't do. And because they're new, they're still going to make progress anyway. Like they've got, everybody knows the beginner gains. Like, oh yeah, I could only squat the barbell. Next week I PR'd my back squat. Yeah. 2 weeks later I've added 4,000% to my squat. It's like, that's awesome. But eventually, obviously, that slows down. And so the further you kind of get away from that beginner status, the more things become about training. You know more about what your current capacity is, and therefore you know what you need to do to increase that capacity when it does come time to test.
And what's nice too, and it's something I think we're kind of like leading ourselves into here, is that once you are no longer a beginner, the gym, the things that you do outside of the gym matter almost as much as the things you do inside of the gym.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're a high level competitor or you're aspiring to be a high level competitor, yes, you need to go to the gym and work really, really hard and fix the things you're not good at, but you can't neglect the outside the gym stuff. You need to be thinking about your stress levels, your relationships, how much you're sleeping, how much vitamin D you're getting, how much fuel you're putting in your body. These things become really important. And when you have an athlete who's very dedicated, or you are the athlete who's very dedicated, you're doing everything you can in the gym, but then you go home and treat yourself like a trash can. You just stuff everything in there you can. Doesn't matter where it comes from or what it looks like food wise. You're going to end up slowing your progress. And again, it seems weird to say it, but you're effectively training your metabolism to learn how to metabolize protein, fat, and carbs that allow you to then heal and train harder the next day. So all of these outside the gym factors become more and more important as the athlete graduates from that like beginner status into intermediate into advanced.
Yeah. And I think like I've just been thinking about that. And I actually thought a lot about it yesterday, which was kind of day one of legit games training for Caroline. And we're going to try to jump in as often as we can to give her a little bit of a push. But I did, some fasted cardio in the morning and then lift a Metcon with her. Then a little bit later, some vested muscle ups, like all in all, not a massive increase in volume, but enough to the point where I feel it today. And yesterday I was like, fuck, like I need calories. And it was just kind of a reminder because we, at least I haven't really trained with that kind of intent in a while, with a little bit more of like that competitive edge. We by and large just take affiliate class, the Team Misfit stuff. But it was a very sharp and immediate reminder that like, hey, once you start to increase that training volume, like the other things need to increase as well. Like you said, the recovery protocols, the food intake, the sleep, all of a sudden, like for every additional piece you find yourself in the gym, that needs to be another, whatever it is, hour dedicated to recovery, combined with, foam rolling, making sure you're getting enough calories to recover from that, the sleep that goes with, an added training piece or whatever.
To me, it's mastering the things that are easy. Someone comes in early on, they look at the gym being like, oh man, those thrusters are really hard. Or climbing that rope was really hard. Once you get those beginner gains out of the way, the hard part's not doing the thrusters, the rope climbs, going at X amount of watts. It's coming in and being disciplined enough to do the same thing or very similar thing every single day. If you aspire to be a high level competitor or to get all you can from your training, the other things that are simple, buying healthy food, getting enough sleep, making sure you're not dealing with stressful people or having a good stress outlet if you are dealing with some stressful people, those things matter more.
Yeah.
And again, those things are simple. They're not easy.
Yeah.
But that's the hard thing you have to accomplish once you become to that level. When Caroline audited her daily life and started prioritizing a little bit more sleep, she punched her ticket to Madison. I
Yeah.
mean, she did some very specific things in her life that set her up for a better training scenario so that she got more from her training and kind of ticked off those last remaining boxes that weren't ticked. And we see the product now. It's, she's punched her ticket to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. And on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, like I think the old CrossFit adage still holds true. Like the needs of humans vary by degree and not by kind. And when we're talking about people who are already integrated in the community, I think that statement was more meant to be, the grandmother who has no intention of any physical, overachievement, so to speak, versus an Olympic weightlifter. But now we're talking about people who have already kind of been integrated into a CrossFit gym in the CrossFit space. On the one end, you've got Caroline, who's doing all of these things necessary to qualify for competition at the highest level. But similarly, you've got a beginner who's coming in, who's already kind of taken the first step forward to improving their health and wellness and fitness by coming into the gym. No, they don't need 4 to 6 training pieces per day. They just get that one workout, but as a coach, we need to communicate, hey, how do you recover from that workout? What do you need to do nutritionally to make sure that you can recover, come in the next day, maybe reduce your inflammation? What kind of sleep do you need to get? The basic things that us as coaches or experienced athletes take for granted, those need to be discussed with the person who's just coming in and is just kind of, because it's a full kind of, it's a little bit of a lifestyle 180 for a lot of people.
It's funny because when a beginner comes to the gym, one of the things I often say to them is the hardest thing you ever did was walk through the door. The next hardest thing will not be the things you do inside the gym. It's the things you leave here and go do after the gym.
Yeah.
It's making sure, again, you get the hydration back in. You're sleeping the way you're supposed to. You're dealing with stress. These are the things that are going to make everything that you do in the gym more effective. So congratulations. You've done a very hard thing. You walk through the door, you've signed on to Misfit Athletics. You decided you're going to do, the Hatchet program. That is awesome. Once you've done the program for the day, it becomes about those other 22 hours. Those are become the new challenge, the new hurdle you have to conquer, because that is what's going to set you up to come back in, recycle, and do it all over the next day. And if you aren't putting enough eggs in that basket, you probably can train for 6 months, a year, 3 years with no problems. But all of a sudden you're like, I've plateaued in everything. I'm not getting better. I haven't added 5 pounds in my clean in 2 years. I haven't been at the same body weight or the same amount of pull-ups for years now. How do I move the needle? And it's those things outside the gym that we become, a talking point. Hey, you have to address these things or you're going to be essentially stuck where you're at.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap up training, again, we're manipulating our daily program, whether it's in the gym, on misfitathletics.com, teammisfit.com, whatever it is, to kind of cater it to our individual needs. Remember, us, the people who put the words into the spreadsheet that turns into the program that you see on your computer screen. We are writing those workouts. Hey, how is the RX athlete, the legitimately RX athlete, going to attack this? And that is by and large a smaller number of people. That is the minority, not the majority. And then the majority is kind of instructed to modify, or us as coaches are modifying for those people to achieve that stimulus, because at the end of the day, we want them reaching for something that's a little bit higher. If we just wrote the scaled version, quote unquote, scaled version of every workout and then scaled our fittest athletes up, that doesn't have the same effect on our athletes who are still striving to be a little bit better every day. So, I'm not going to go bullet point by bullet point. You have anything you want to kind of final thoughts to wrap up the conversation?
No, I just want to say it one more time for the people in the back that testing does not develop fitness, training does. So again, do your best to try to get as much information from yourself from the day-to-day gym, and then ask yourself when you go into a piece, take an extra 5 minutes to read about it. Look at the workout, figure out in your mind how long this movement will take, how long that one will take, where the sticking point might lie. And before you go into it, don't leave yourself scaling the pegboard in the middle of the workout. Ask yourself right off the bat, all right, maybe I start with pegboard and then it goes to ring muscle up, then it goes to chest to bar, and then it goes to chin over bar. Because I know as I go through this workout, I'm going to get stuck at some point, and this is going to allow me to stay moving because the stimulus in this case is conditioning. Oh. Take the extra time to do that, because that's what separates both the high-level coach from the average coach, is understanding how the workout's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And that's what separates the average athlete from the high-level competitor, is they care as much about the mental side, or how it plays out in their head and how they're going to execute and how they're going to learn from it, as much as just going in and doing what's on the board.
Yeah. talking a lot about that pegboard.
Oof.
Be on the lookout.
Might be a video coming soon.
Might be a video.
Maybe a little help with it.
Might be a workout. I'm going to need as much help as I can get with that workout. I think my final thoughts is I have no problem with putting people on blast. So I'm going to do it to the coaches out there. If you do not understand the desired stimulus, of the workout, whether it's the desired time domain, the energy system we're looking to attack, and we don't specifically often write energy system related
hit the
stuff.
phosphagen system.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes we'll say aerobic, sometimes we'll say anaerobic. So maybe more so like, hey, how do we need to attack this? What do we want the athlete to feel like during and after? And then you need to be able to communicate that to your athlete. If an athlete comes up to you and is just like, hey, what are we trying to get at? Like, odds are they're trying to figure out how to make this appropriate for them because they don't think that they can do it as written on the board. And hey, kudos to you as the athlete for doing that. Now it's our turn as the coach to have that understanding, have that knowledge, and then we have the appropriate scaling and modification options in our toolkit. Or even, more often than not, it's a conversation that's like, hey, I think you can do this. I think you're going to get a lot better of a workout, a lot better of a training stimulus if you do X instead of Z. And then by that same token, you have to be you have to kind of be tough but fair, so to speak, in when it comes to training and scaling athletes and being insistent that you have what you're looking out for them. When it comes time to test, like let the athlete go, let them apply the knowledge that they've gained over, whether it's the past 6 weeks of a training phase or the past year since the last open. Like we have a responsibility to kind of let the athlete fail a little bit sometime, or hopefully more often than not surprise themselves and succeed, because that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, guys, that was the Coaches Podcast Athlete IQ series on training versus testing. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Head to teammisfit.com for your affiliate programming, the SugarWOD marketplace. You can get your free 14-day trial there. MisfitAthletics.com, also the SugarWOD marketplace. You can get a free 14-day trial on all of those individual products. And right now, if you're not following, we just started mock games week. Monday was a primer day. Tuesday event 1 kicks off, and it's gonna be a fun, rugged week. You guys are gonna get to hammer it, roll right into that July 4th, and blessings. July 4th is on a Sunday, and
thank goodness.
And mock games week will be over by then. So again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Peace.